Before you pour your next cup, I need your full attention. I speak to you as a physician who has watched a quiet crisis grow in plain sight. Coffee is no longer just a comforting beverage. It has become a colossal global machine that shapes habits, steers spending, and exploits trust. The money at stake is staggering, rivaling the economies of entire nations. And the group most aggressively targeted is people over 60, precisely because morning routines are steady, loyal, and simple to manipulate. Here's the truth the marketing never admits. A shocking number of products labeled as coffee are not coffee in any meaningful sense. They are blends of chemical flavorings, syrups, stabilizers, preservatives, and cheap oils dressed up as smooth or balanced. The risk is not theoretical. Research shows seniors who rely on these counterfeit coffees can face up to a threefold rise in life-threatening cardiac events. Think about why, as we age, the liver clears toxins more slowly, arteries become less elastic, and the kidneys lose filtration efficiency. Caffeine and additives stay in the system longer than they would in a 25-year-old amplifying strain on the heart vessels and kidneys. Despite this, the market is flooded with high-margin exports, bottled concoctions, flavored instant packets, and powdered mixes, because profit outranks your health. This video is your roadmap through the minefield. I am going to reveal 7 categories of coffee you should cut out immediately. They are organized from dangerous to deadliest, so you can identify which ones do the most damage the fastest. Pay close attention to number 2. It is a seemingly innocent bottled option that many physicians warn can push vulnerable seniors toward a stroke with no warning signs. Every study and source I mention is listed in the description, so you can verify each claim yourself line by line. Before we get into the list, I want to understand you better. Where are you watching from right now, and what is your usual morning drink? Tell us in the comments. We treat every response as if we are sitting together in my clinic, and your stories often shape what I investigate next. All right, let us begin at number 7 and uncover why this type has become a quiet trap for older adults who simply wanted a safe, reliable morning ritual. 1. Iced coffee bottles with preservatives. Bottled iced coffee looks crisp, trendy, and somehow cleaner than soda. Many older adults grab a bottle at the supermarket, assuming it is simply chilled coffee with a splash of milk. The truth is far less innocent. Most bottled iced coffees rely on preservatives such as potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate, along with artificial stabilizers so they can sit on shelves for months. Once those chemicals meet sugars and dairy proteins, they do not remain inert. Inside the body, especially after 60, they interact in ways that can be deeply harmful. Evidence has raised red flags. A 2020 study in environmental research reported that adults with higher benzoate intake faced a 71% greater risk of hypertension than those with lower exposure. After 60, elevated blood pressure is not just an inconvenient reading. It is a quiet engine for strokes, heart failure, and progressive kidney damage. Many bottled iced coffees do not use a single preservative, but a mixture creating a cumulative load with every sip. Consider Helen, age 69, who loved tossing a bottle iced coffee into her cart during errands. She believed it was a lighter choice than soda. Over 2 years, her blood pressure crept upward, ankle swelling appeared, and her clinician warned of early strain on the kidneys. What felt like a refreshing habit had become a slow-moving toxic routine. Here is the mechanism. Sodium benzoate can convert to benzene, a known carcinogen, when heat is present or when combined with vitamin C. The body does not simply rinse that away. The liver must neutralize it, and liver enzyme activity declines with age, allowing these compounds to circulate longer and irritate cells. Layer on the sugar load, often 30 to 45 grams per bottle, and you ignite a metabolic blast. Insulin surges. Preservatives amplify arterial inflammation. Caffeine lands on a cardiovascular system already working harder than it used to. This product is not just coffee, it is a chemically laced sugar trap that can start a chain reaction affecting the heart, brain, and kidneys. For people over 60, it stands out as the single most dangerous coffee choice in the lineup. 2 gas station cappuccino machines. They glow from the corner of every convenience counter, a tidy row of buttons promising French vanilla cappuccino or mocha latte at a single press. The cup that drops into your hand looks like coffee, but what streams out is something else entirely. These machines draw from mixes built on sugar-powdered creamers and flavored syrups with only a faint trace of real coffee extract. For older adults, that recipe is not just a poor choice. It is a risky blend that can tip fragile metabolism in the wrong direction. In 2016, Public Health Nutrition reported that adults over 60 who routinely consumed high-sugar coffee beverages away from home were 52% more likely to develop obesity-related complications, such as elevated blood pressure and insulin resistance, than those who chose plain brewed coffee. A typical medium serving from these machines can deliver 30 to 40 grams of sugar, outpacing many sodas in a single pour. Couple that load with the processed fats found in powdered creamers, and you get a metabolic 1-2 punch, with consequences that accumulate quietly week after week. Here is how the hit lands. The first mouthful sends a rush of sugar into the bloodstream. The pancreas responds with a surge of insulin to move that glucose into cells. Aging tissues are already less responsive to insulin, which means the mechanism runs less smoothly after 60. Instead of rapid, efficient uptake, sugar lingers and circulates, raising the likelihood of damage to delicate blood vessel linings. Meanwhile, the powdered oils used to create creaminess increase viscosity in the blood, further stressing a circulation system whose arteries naturally stiffen with age. Stack those effects together, and the terrain tilts toward clot spikes in pressure, and the kind of vascular strain that sets the stage for strokes and heart attacks. There is more beneath the foam. The flavor performance in these mixes is often stabilized by additives such as propylene glycol, a compound used to keep syrups uniform. Regulators may classify it as generally recognized as safe in small amounts, but repeated daily exposure adds workload to the same liver and kidneys that are already busy processing medications and everyday toxins. For older adults who often manage multiple prescriptions, those detox pathways become crowded. The result can be a slow buildup of stress in organs tasked with filtering the bloodstream, a problem that rarely announces itself until fatigue, swelling, or unexplained lab changes appear. The gut feels the impact too high. Sugar liquid calories hit fast and hard, triggering swings that leave you hungry again soon after the cup is empty. That cycle promotes cravings, encourages overconsumption later in the day, and feeds the very insulin resistance that these beverages inflame. Over months, triglycerides climb, waistlines expand, and energy becomes less reliable even for people who believe they are just having a coffee. Strip away the marketing, and the picture clarifies. The gas station cappuccino is not a gentle pick-me-up, and it is not comparable to a mug of brewed coffee. It is liquid candy formatted to look like an energy boost, fortified with processed fats and stabilizers that challenge vessels, kidneys, and the liver. Every medium cup pressures the system to work harder than it should, precisely at a time in life when resilience is limited and the margin for error is thin. So, the next time the display beckons with mocha or vanilla at the tap of a button, remember what is actually in the cup. It is not cappuccino, and it is not coffee in any meaningful sense. It is a sugar-saturated confection, masquerading as a morning ritual, and for seniors, it trades short-term sweetness for long-term strain with every sip. 3. Coffee pods. With artificial additives, sleek machines, tidy counters, and a single button that delivers a steaming cup. Coffee pods project cleanliness and convenience, yet what ends up in the mug is often far more than ground coffee. To mimic mocha caramel or cappuccino, profiles many pods rely on artificial sweeteners, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and synthetic flavor compounds. For bodies past 60, that cocktail is not a minor detail. It is a lab-designed formula that the aging digestive and immune systems were never built to process smoothly. Dorothy, age 71, turned to pods because arthritis made scooping grounds painful. The solution felt modern and simple. Within a few months, her joint ache sharpened and her digestion grew erratic. She chalked it up to getting older, In reality, her daily flavored pods were stoking inflammation from within a slow accumulation that blurred cause and effect. Heat intensifies the problem. When boiling water blasts through those additives inside a confined plastic chamber, it can generate byproducts that irritate the stomach lining. Older adults naturally produce less stomach acid, so meals sit longer and digestion slows. Food that lingers ferments, driving gas, reflux, and burning discomfort. What looks like ordinary indigestion often traces back to chemical interference at the very start of the digestive process. The pod itself adds another layer. Many single-use capsules are lined with plastics that can shed microscopic particles into the hot beverage. The quantities are tiny, but exposure is daily. A 2022 review in Frontiers in Toxicology linked ongoing microplastic intake with increased oxidative stress, a state in which free radicals chip away at cells and accelerate biological aging. For seniors whose antioxidant defenses are already diminished, that steady trickle acts like fuel on an existing fire, pressuring the heart, brain, and immune system over time. The image suggests progress and ease. Inside the body, the effect trends in the opposite direction toward stiffer joints, foggier recall, and defenses that struggle to keep pace. 4. Decaf coffee with chemical processing. Decaf sounds gentle, which is why many older adults switch to it to sidestep jitters or blood pressure spikes. Yet the risk hiding behind the label is not about caffeine at all. In most cases, the caffeine is stripped with chemical solvents such as methylene chloride or ethyl acetate. Those solvents do not simply disappear after processing. They can leave residues that an aging liver and kidneys must work harder to eliminate. Public health agencies have flagged concerns about this exposure. The National Cancer Institute has warned that long-term contact with methylene chloride, even at low levels, can affect the central nervous system, producing dizziness, headaches, and confusion. A 2020 survey of commercially processed decaf found trace solvent residues in nearly 40% of samples. A younger body may occasionally shoulder that chemical load without obvious symptoms. After 60, as detoxification slows, the same residues linger longer, and their impact multiplies. Consider George a retired teacher of 66 who proudly swapped to decaf to live healthier. Within weeks, he noticed a persistent mental haze and trouble focusing on his crossword puzzles. His medical workup looked unremarkable. What no one pointed out was that his daily decaf could be delivering invisible chemicals his body no longer cleared efficiently. Here is the physiology behind that experience. The liver depends on enzyme systems and steady blood flow to metabolize foreign compounds. With age, the organ tends to shrink, and hepatic blood flow can drop by almost 40%. That decline means solvent remnants in processed decaf may circulate longer, irritating nerves and placing extra pressure on the kidneys. Manufacturers often argue that remaining levels fall within safety thresholds. Yet the studies used to support those claims rarely center on people over 60, the very group least capable of clearing these residues. Add common realities of later life, such as multiple prescriptions, and now those same detox enzymes must triage between medications and industrial solvents. The competition can slow drug breakdown, encourage accumulation, and trigger side effects that clinicians may never link to a morning cup. So decaf may present itself as a kind companion. When it is chemically processed, it behaves more like a predator, disguised as a friend, chipping away at mental clarity and burdening the organs that most need protection with age. 5. Flavored syrup coffees. Vanilla, caramel, hazelnut. The aroma is inviting, the first sip feels silky, and the foam looks innocent swirling in the cup. Yet, flavored syrup coffees from vanilla lattes to caramel macchiatos and hazelnut brews are among the most misleading offerings pushed toward older adults. The syrup is not just sweetener, it is a sticky concentrate of high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavor, chemicals, stabilizers, and preservatives engineered to excite your taste buds and keep you coming back. For people past 60, those add-ins do far more than sweeten a morning routine. In a 2015 analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, adults over 60 who drank sugar-sweetened beverages more than 4 times weekly showed a 33% higher likelihood of developing heart disease compared with those who rarely consume them. When investigators turned to flavored coffee beverages specifically, they found calorie loads that rival fast food milkshakes. A single flavored latte can deliver roughly 250 to 400 calories, the majority from sugar, with a slower metabolism that is essentially a full meal disguised as a drink. Consider Thomas, age 73. He treated himself to a vanilla latte at the neighborhood cafe, a small retirement luxury that brightened his afternoons. Within a year, his clinician flagged rising triglycerides, a stubborn increase in abdominal fat, and an A1C nudging toward diabetes. That seemingly gentle indulgence had been rewriting his metabolism behind the scenes. Here is what unfolds inside the body. Syrup sugars rush into the bloodstream within minutes, driving a sharp insulin surge that shuttles energy into storage, particularly around the belly and within the liver. Meanwhile, flavor additives such as ethyl vanillin and certain caramel colorings do not simply evaporate from the equation. They add oxidative stress that chips away at cellular integrity and speeds biological wear. Because antioxidant defenses naturally decline with age, the heart and brain are left to operate in a harsher internal environment. Layer on the repeated sugar spikes day after day, and insulin sensitivity erodes, making glucose harder to control and ushering in fatigue, stronger cravings, and eventually diabetes for many. The cruel irony is that countless seniors view these beverages as a nicer version of their regular coffee. In reality, they are desserts dressed up in cafe language. Every caramel drizzle and hazelnut swirl becomes another small burden your cardiovascular system must carry one sip at a time. 6. Instant 3-in-1 coffee packets. Tear, pour, stir. The ritual seems harmless and perfectly convenient, yet instant 3-in-1 coffee packets rank among the most dangerous choices for older adults. Each pouch bundles a little instant coffee with powdered creamer and a heavy dose of sugar. It sounds efficient, but what ends up in your cup is a surge of sugar and unhealthy fats with only a faint trace of real coffee. Consider what the data signal is in a 2018 paper in Nutrients. Seniors who regularly drank high-sugar coffee mixes showed a 67% greater risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who chose black coffee. And once diabetes appears after 60, it rarely stays confined to blood sugar alone. It opens the door to vision loss, kidney failure, and peripheral nerve damage that can rob you of sensation in your feet and stability in your gait. Take John, a 72-year-old grandfather who loved his quick afternoon pick-me-up. He watched his meals carefully, yet his glucose numbers kept spiking. The culprit turned out to be his innocent daily packet, hiding roughly 18 grams of sugar that pushed his readings upward day after day. Here is the physiological trap insulin sensitivity usually declines with age. Think of the cellular doorway for glucose as a rusty lock. Every time you drink one of these mixes a wave of sugar, floods the bloodstream, forcing the pancreas to hammer out more insulin to pry that door open. Repeat this enough, and you invite insulin fatigue, constant energy crashes, and a slow burn of damage to the kidneys that you may not feel until it is advanced. Now, add the creamer component. Most of these powdered bases rely on the same hydrogenated oils flagged in number 7. Pair those oils with sugar, and you create a perfect storm. Blood sugar spikes harder, blood becomes more viscous, and many people notice a racing heartbeat or jittery unease soon after finishing the cup. Look closely at the label, and you will often find that actual coffee comprises only about 20 to 30% of the packet. The rest is filler that quietly erodes health while pretending to deliver convenience. 7. Flavored coffee creamer blends. What is more damaging than a spoonful of sugar in your mug? A flavored creamer blend that is not real cream at all. Those glossy bottles and tidy packets promise French vanilla, hazelnut delight, or caramel swirl. Yet the fine print tells a different story. Inside you find corn syrup solids, hydrogenated oils, and artificial colors. None of that belongs in the bloodstream of someone past 60 when the body's defenses are already working harder to keep you steady and clear-headed. Here is the part most labels hope you ignore. Researchers at Harvard reported that adults over 55 who consume trans fats from hydrogenated oils faced a 23% higher risk of memory decline compared with those who avoided them. That statistic matters because many creamers are built on those very fats. They often hide in plain sight under names like partially hydrogenated soybean oil. You are not just flavoring your coffee, you are dosing your brain and blood vessels with compounds that age them faster. Let me introduce Margaret, a 68-year-old retiree who decided to treat herself each morning with a hazelnut creamer. She loved the aroma and the way it softened the bitterness. Within a few months, she began noticing a pins and needles sensation in her hands and found herself losing her train of thought mid-conversation. When she finally sat down with her physician, the verdict was blunt. This was not simply getting older, diet-fueled inflammation was amplifying the problem, and that daily creamer was a prime suspect. There is a biological reason this happens. Your nerve cells repair their membranes with clean fats such as omega-3s. Hydrogenated oils push in the opposite direction. They clog cellular pathways, stiffen blood vessels, and reduce the delivery of oxygen your brain needs to think clearly and remember reliably. Layer artificial sweeteners on top, and you add a second hit. Those additives can drive abrupt insulin spikes, which for many seniors translate into fogginess, fatigue, and stronger cravings later in the day. The result feels like a gentle morning indulgence, but it functions like a slow-moving assault on attention, recall, and mood. So, that innocent vanilla swirl is not really coffee. It is a chemical cocktail wrapped in comforting language. For older adults, it often masquerades as convenience while quietly undermining cognition. The danger hides in every sweet sip building, day after day, until the symptoms become hard to ignore. And if you are thinking the powdered versions must be safer because they are shelf-stable and tidy, pause. Those formulas introduce a different problem that we will expose shortly. Understand this clearly, creamers are only the opening chapter in this story. The next question is even more unsettling. What happens when the coffee itself is not coffee at all? 7 drinks dressed up as coffee are unsafe for people over 60, from flavored creamers and instant mixes to preservative-packed bottled iced coffees. Each one quietly strains your heart, brain, and daily energy. The brands selling them are focused on repeat purchases, not on slower kidneys, stiffer arteries, or a harder working liver. Now you know better. Here is the bottom line. Freshly brewed, real coffee can fit a healthy routine. The imposters loaded with chemicals, artificial flavors, and sugar drive diabetes, memory decline, high blood pressure, and even stroke. The harm accumulates quietly, sip by sip. Tomorrow choose differently. Skip the powdered blends and the bottled iced coffees, brew something clean. That single change can mean steadier energy, clearer thinking, and more years spent walking, laughing, and living without constant checkups. If this helps, share it with a friend or family member over 60. Tell us in the comments which fake coffee surprised you most, and whether any slipped into your routine. Hit subscribe, we read and reply to every comment, and the next video could be the one that protects your health. Your strength does not retire, it depends on what is in your cup. Questions or thoughts, go in the comments. Thank you for watching.